So Blitz Skirmish Season 10 is a wrap, and the final Blitz Living Legend points have been logged for 2024. So today I want to do a couple of things. First, look at the results for Week 3, then we'll recap the entire season, but also I want to compare Season 9 to Season 10 and show how different the metas were. Furthermore, we also now have our Blitz meta defined, right, until after the Hunted's release. So let's talk about that, as well as some of the interesting results from Skirmish Season 10. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando, and go again, a fabulous cast, and thanks for tuning in here on this Wednesday for a recap of Skirmish Season 10. Now, the Week 3 data actually posted very late for me on Monday. And in fact, I was in bed and I opened up to kind of check things, and there they were. But it was too late to get them out for Tuesday. So here we are on Wednesday. But that's okay, because it gave me more time to kind of look it over and figure some stuff out. And very interesting comparison I want to make here between 9 and 10. But we'll get to that in a moment. Now, first, what I do want to do is give a shout out to the Mercenarios Cintauri. So this is a group out of Uruguay, and it is a Spanish-focused podcast and YouTube channel talking about flesh and blood. So if you are a Spanish speaker, or you're just interested, or you do speak and you're interested in that, you should go check them out. And we're going to see if I can harken back to my high school days and see if I can do this. So, para mis amigos que hablan español, tú conoces Mercenarios Cintauri, una podcast de flesh and blood en español. Mercenarios Cintauri son de Uruguay, vayan para Cantiendo a flesh and blood en español. So, apologies for butchering that, but, meant it from my heart. So again, go check them out, give them a shot, okay? Now, let's go ahead and move into, we'll start with the Week 3 results, and we'll go ahead and flash up LSS's graphic. And again, thank you to LSS for getting this together and putting them out. It really helps us kind of visually see, obviously faces at the top and stuff like that. Now, we do see a different picture this week, slightly, I guess, in terms of who was at, not in terms of like the top group, but in terms of who won. If you recall from Week 2, we had Blaze at the top with 20 points. This week it was Zen with 10. Now, the total points should not come as a surprise. Remember last week we talked that this was going to be the smallest week of the 3 in terms of the season, with only a handful of points compared to the other 2, right? Roughly half. So Zen with 10, Kayo, armed Kayo again with 9, Levia with 8, making a run. Blaze, last week's leader, is only at 7. Then we had Datadol, Verdance, and Aurora on 4. ASC, Enigma, and Quickie P on 3. Dorinthea with 2. Man, she's just edging ever closer. She's getting so close. And then 10 other heroes: Kassai, Florian, Vincent, Database Dash, Bravo pulling down 1, Betsy, New, Shiana, our second Shiana of the season, Prism, Advent of Thrones, and then, that's right, Olympia. Man, that's very interesting. Must have been I wonder if it was like a Decimator CYB or something like that. That is very interesting to me. I'd like to, if that was you, let me know. It'd be really cool to hear how that went. Okay, so I think that, it's very interesting to look at certainly the week, how the different weeks changed. And we did see quite a bit of variety, but I think that's actually kind of fits into what we'll be talking about just here in a little bit. Now, doing a full recap of the season, we saw that there were 1,415 total LL points logged during the 3-week period. Okay, so that is slightly down from remember there was 1,500 points allocated for this season by LSS, right? And then they defined the 5 by 1,500 divided by the number of events, and then do some rounding. So 1,415 came in a little low as to that 1,500, if that's okay. Now, our number 1 winner on the week was Blaze at 175 points at 12.4%. We had Armed Kayo at 165 points at 11.7%. Zen in third place at 135 points at 9.5%. Aurora at 115 points, 8.1%. Then we actually had a tie for 5th place with Victor, remember, who LL'd last week, as well as Datadol at 105 points each with 7.4%, 7.5% each, for a combined total there of 15 in the 5 slot. But again, remember, that's actually 5th place and 6th place. Okay, so those are your top 5, and only with one of them gone, you now actually have a defined top 5 within the meta going forward. Now, so all that's well and good. But I think it's very interesting to harken back to Skirmish Season 9, right? So Skirmish Season 9 was a very different scenario, right? Zen was insanely dominant, right? No secret there. That was his first run. Now he's making his second run, and so be it. But what I have up right now is actually a win distribution histogram of sorts, right? Comparing Skirmish Season 10's field wins with Skirmish Season 9's field wins. Now, Skirmish Season 10, we had 33 different heroes hit wins, earn points, across 283 events. Okay, so that is actually less heroes than we saw win points in Skirmish Season 9. However, Skirmish Season 9 had 441 Blitz events. So, significantly more events available logging one hero. And what you actually see there is in that the field actually, one win is actually worth less, right? You saw that a win was worth roughly 0.4% this season, whereas last season it was 0.2%. Okay, but the bigger takeaway is if you look on the left side there with Skirmish Season 9, you see it was significantly more top heavy, right? And you see that with the way that it decreases super fast as compared to the wider distribution that we see for Skirmish Season 10, which is a lot more flat. Again, we have the leader at 12.4% versus in Skirmish Season 9, over 20% was Zen, which of course he did in 2 weeks. Furthermore, in Skirmish Season 9, the top 5 heroes pulled down 66% of the points, whereas in Skirmish Season 10, the top 6 heroes, remember, because that's right, Victor and Datadol in the top 5, the top 6 heroes, so even more heroes, only pulled down 56.5% of the points. So sure, there's the numbers, and that's an interesting, thing of data to look at. But what does it really tell us? Well, what it tells me is, and to be fair, I want to point out we did lose some heroes in Skirmish. We lost many heroes in Skirmish Season 9. We lost Zen for the first time, but we lost Briar and Dash as well that same week, and then we lost Rhinar the final week, right? So those were very, very, very strong heroes that certainly played into the top heaviness of this, but we have no lack of really good heroes this season as well. So the fact that Zen was in both is why I find this very interesting, because it really highlights to me just how fragile the Blitz format is in terms of, kind of the knobs to twist, and taking a few things away from Zen really changed things pretty significantly. Because again, remember, Zen is the same mostly, again, we lost some heroes, but mostly the same data point within both. So it's very interesting to look at how the bans really affected and how just those little knobs to twist can really change things in terms of the Blitz format. I think that's very interesting to consider going forward. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up the overall spreadsheet. Now, in terms of the top 6, this is already pretty well comprehended on our side in terms of where they scored. So what I want to actually do is kind of flip the script. I actually want to go to the bottom, okay? Now, what you see on the bottom is looking at the heroes that did not get wins, okay? And there's some surprising ones down there, like, Benji surprises me a little bit. I think Benji's really, really, really good. I mean, the one thing against Benji is that, if you're going to play other ninjas, like Zen's pretty good, so I get that. I also understand he has 17 health in a format where Blaze can just do her thing, whatever it might be. But, Kevin was able to take him to the final in ours, and I'm surprised he wasn't able to pull down one across the globe. I was also surprised about Uzuri getting a goose egg this season. That really surprised me. Just with how disruptive and kind of there's a lot of players out there that are pretty good with her. They kind of honed in on her. Like, she's just kind of a delivery vehicle for disruption. And if you know how to call the right things, like, I don't know, Blue was in or something like that, like, things seems pretty good. A couple other heroes I wanted to comment on. So Emperor only pulled down 5 points this season. I don't think it's a surprise that this season he was significantly less favored than he was in previous seasons. That's not really a surprise to us because he's like how you're supposed to beat a Blaze. But he did pick up Arcane Polarity. So into like Aurora or even Vincent to a lesser extent. Sure, you can't necessarily stop the disruption part there. But, Arcane Polarity gaining you 4 health is not irrelevant. And he still does what he wants to do. So I was a little surprised he only pulled down 5. Maybe those folks have gone over to Blaze. Maybe that's what's going on there. But I do think that one's interesting. Another hero that she did okay, to be clear, but Vincent only winning 30 points surprised me a little bit. I think Vincent's pretty good as well in this format. So I was a little surprised there. Going back to kind of the top sheet, and so what I'm showing again right now, this is the full sheet, and what I'm showing here, what you see here is everybody who earned points this season. Okay, so the complete field of anybody who won at least one. But going to the top there's two heroes in particular that are kind of in that 7 and 8, like let's say top 10 spot. So Levia won 6 points, so just shy of 7% this time around, which is pretty good. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised she wasn't in the top 5. I mean, to be fair, I don't know who she would have, if I'm putting all these up against each other, I suppose, you got to fall somewhere, because I think all the heroes in the top 5 or 6 are pretty good heroes. But Levia is pretty good as well. And ASC getting only 4% with how disruptive he could be surprises me a little bit as well. Now, one hero I'm really happy to see up there, because she kind of just kept doing her thing. She didn't have a great week, but she very consistently kind of kept doing her thing through the season. So Verdance actually pulled down 50 points over the season, right? So 10 wins across the season. Now, that's not anything to write home about, I suppose, when you're looking at, maybe the other top heroes in the format. But Verdance is someone who I think is highly underrated in Blitz right now. If you think about her Sergeant combo and what she can do, right, with let's say you amp the Sergeant wand by 6, which isn't unreasonable. That means that you're carrying that 6 through to the next one as well in a 20 health format. And then you've got Stormstriders where you need to only get them to like the 5 or 6 range. That's pretty good. So I do think that we're going to see Verdance start to pick up steam. And you notice there were people this season who were onto it. So I think the cat's kind of out of the bag on that one. So let's see how a Sergeant Verdance does in the coming months. She might have a rough go in the Hunted, depending on like how aggro it is. Right? Because she needs time to set up. And, gaining health doesn't stop you from taking on hits, right? So things have to be right for her. But man, if she can pull it off, ooh, she's so good. I think for the most part, that's pretty much it going through kind of the surprises. I mean, Quickie P landed about where I thought she would land overall. That's my, well, I actually play Aurora right now too. So Aurora actually did a little better than I thought she would, if I'm being honest, but she's pretty explosive and can do pretty crazy pop-off things with, the gold and iron weave and all that. So anyway, that'll cap it off for that part. But talking the meta going forward, that we'll have, and granted, and it's January 30th. So when I say February, to be clear, it's January 31st, but into February, and then we'll see how that impacts things. And then we do have skirmish season on the horizon for early spring. And what are we looking at until then? I think it's pretty much your top 10 there for the most part. But again, if you really look at how flat this season was, I think it's really exciting because we're going into a more, it's a casual time. It's a really good time over the holidays to play Blitz because it's shorter. You can get more games in the 1 to 2 hours you have with your buddies. So I think it's really fun to be playing a lot of Blitz right now at a casual level. And if you look at kind of that, let's just say the top distribution there, you've got a good 10 heroes, 10, 12 heroes that are pretty legit. And then there's even some like wild cards. I mean, Shiana's way down there with only having earned 10 points. I think Shiana's like a legit hero. So I think Blitz is back to, I'm not going to say this is the healthiest Blitz has ever been. I still think the healthiest Blitz was basically a year ago, actually exactly a year ago, where we lost Kano and a lot of other things happened. So I think that's the best we've ever had, really up until Mistveil's release, if I'm being... it was after Heavy Hitters, because Heavy Hitters was good too. So I'd say from Heavy Hitters, so a little less than a year ago, I think it's the best we ever have had. But I think this one's looking to be pretty good as well. So we'll see what comes out of the Hunted and how that affects. But I'm actually pretty excited for the next phase of Blitz. So anyway, folks, that'll do it for me today. Thank you so much. Remember, if you like this kind of content, do the like thing. Give me a comment. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. And it helps find other people, right? Or helps other people find us, right? It's the way it works. So thank you for that. Thanks for joining me for, it was just like the 5th or 6th, maybe even 7th skirmish season we've covered like this. So thank you again for continuing to join. If nothing else, my friends, go Commando.